The newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro, bringing you the biggest headlines from around the world. Pyongyang claims that U.S. soldier Travis King confessed to crossing into North Korea because of maltreatment and racism. Recall that King fled into the communist state while on a tour at a demilitarized zone in July. According to North Korean state media, KCNA, King deliberately crossed the DMZ with the intent to stay in the north or in a third country. KCNA added that King was kept under control by North Korean soldiers and that the investigation is still active. Deadly clashes erupted overnight in the Libyan capital of Tripoli. Dark smoke was seen hanging over parts of the city as the sound of heavy weapons rattled through the streets. The fighting, which is Tripoli's worst violence this year, involved two powerful armed factions. It began after the Special Deterrence Force detained 444 Brigade Commander Mahmoud Hamza as he attempted to travel. The conflict calmed eventually after the leader was handed over to a third faction. At least 27 people were reportedly killed and more than 100 others were injured in the violence. The United Nations says Sudan is spiraling out of control following months of war. The conflict between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces erupted on April 15. Since then, millions are slated to go hungry as the war continues. Medical supplies are also becoming more scarce. The UN estimated that over 4,000 people have been killed and over 4 million have been forced to flee. The UN also reported dozens of sexual violence incidents. Meanwhile, those who remain in Sudan face rampant looting and long power communications and water cuts.
Since the start of the conflict in Sudan on the 15th of April, over 4.3 million people have been forced to flee. As people continue to flee, displacement sites within Sudan and in neighboring countries are rapidly becoming overcrowded.
It's difficult to establish an exact number of casualties due to the intensity of the fighting and the fact that the remains of many of those killed have not been collected, identified, or buried.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now World. I'm Diego Castro. Thousands of people in Japan were ordered to move to safety as the slow-moving Typhoon Lan makes landfall. The typhoon lashed central and western Japan with heavy rains and powerful winds. The intense weather canceled nearly 900 flights, forced the closure of some roads, and suspended train operations. Power outages also hit nearly 90,000 households in the central and western areas of the country. Authorities have issued flood and landslide warnings and reported of tornadoes that have formed. Meanwhile, Japan's leaders mark the 78th anniversary of the end of World War II. Government officials commemorated the event in a memorial ceremony in Tokyo. During the event, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida reaffirmed the country's post-war commitment to pacifism. Government representatives and regional leaders laid flowers at a memorial commemorating those who died in the conflict. U.S. President Joe Biden is set to visit Hawaii following the wildfires that killed almost 100 people. More in this video, courtesy of the Associated Press.
Let me address that devastating wildfires, some of which are still burning in Hawaii. They've claimed the lives of 99 people so far, and they haven't cleaned things up yet. The deadliest wildfire in more than 100 years. A whole city destroyed. Generations of native Hawaiian history turned into ruin. I've spoken to Governor Josh Green multiple times and reassured him the state will have everything it needs from the federal government. I immediately approved the governor's request for expedited major disaster declaration. That's a fancy word of saying whatever you need, you're going to get. And that'll get aid into the hands of people who desperately need it, who have lost their loved ones, who have lost their homes, their livelihoods, who've been damaged and destroyed. And think about this. All that area they got to plow up. They can't do it now because they don't know how many bodies are there. They don't know what's left. Imagine being a mom or dad, wondering where your child is. Imagine being a husband or wife, a mother or father. It's really tough stuff. My wife Jill and I are going to travel to Hawaii as soon as we can. That's what I've been talking to the governor about. I don't want to get in the way. I've been to too many disaster areas, but I want to go, make sure we got everything they need. I want to be sure we don't disrupt the ongoing recovery efforts. In the meantime, you always hear this phrase, and I've done so many disasters in my career, it's almost hollow. Our prayers, our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Hawaii, but not just our prayers. Every asset they need, we'll be there for them. And we'll be there in Maui as long as it takes. As long as it takes. And I mean that sincerely. We're going to have more to report on this.
And those are the top world headlines of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. The FIBA World Cup starts on August 24. Support Gilas, support Team Pilipinas. Watch, buy tickets to the biggest sports event of the year.